What's going on, guys? Good morning. Welcome back to United View. Welcome back to another edition of the Morning View. Hope everyone is doing very well, having a good Thursday. It is absolutely freezing here in the UK this morning. Now, the thing is, Mina, whenever we talk about this kind of stuff, we've got a global audience that watches. So sometimes when I've had this before and I've complained about the heat, I had it in the summer, I was like, it's too hot, it's too hot. And then I had people from abroad going, you think it's hot where you are? Oh. So I feel like I shouldn't complain too much about the weather, but it is cold. It is really, really cold this morning. Even though it is cold, we've got a lot of warming Manchester United news to get into this morning. There's plenty of discussion to get into. We're going to be talking a bit about Joao Felix, the price of maybe 140 million euros quoted about him this morning. We'll talk a little bit more, of course, about Cody Gakpo. He's actually spoken about his future, actually spoken about Manchester United by name and him not moving in the summer and what could happen if an offer comes in for him in January. So we'll speak about that. Of course, we've got to reflect on Manchester United's friendly defeat yesterday against Cadiz, lost 4-2. We're going to talk a little bit about the people that played, the people that didn't play, the youth players that played in the second half. Marcel, his Dubravka speech at the end of the match for yesterday as well. We've got that. We're going to discuss that this morning. And a little bit about Luke Shaw backing Harry Maguire ahead of England's match against France in the quarterfinals of the World Cup on Saturday. But before we get into anything, as always this morning, this show is brought to you by Fresh Ego Kid. Fresh Ego FC, for the third year, will be facilitating their annual Community Giveback for Campaign for Change to provide an essential hamper and gifts to families from low-income, vulnerable and at-risk families. This year, Fresh Ego FC is partnering with Anthony Joshua's charity Clean Herts Community. This year, especially with global inflation and fuel poverty, those families, along with other families, will struggle to provide the basics this Christmas. Last year, through donations, Fresh Ego FC was able to give back to 120 families. This year, they expect to be supporting more than 350 families. So as always, guys, really important cause, really important as we get into this holiday and festive period, especially we talked about the temperature this morning. Some people legitimately cannot afford to turn on their heating. So a really important cause in this festive period. As always, for a bit more information, here's Anthony Joshua.
What's happening, people? I hope you're good. So the festive period is fast approaching. And what I've come to realize is that a lot of people are actually unsure on how to kind of connect with communities and give back. So what I've done is my organisation has teamed up with another organisation to do some projects where we're going to be doing community work and spending time in communities and doing some give back projects, right? So we want to raise some funds, we want to get some items because it's going to be rolled out across the whole year as well. This ain't just a one-stop shop. So if you want to get involved, follow the link, follow the Instagram page, the social pages for more info, and your help will be appreciated. We'll be there, I'll be there. It'll be a big community day. Don't worry about that, Leaf. And yeah, we appreciate your support fully, yeah? God bless, be safe, and I'll catch up with you all soon.
As always, good to hear from AJ. As always, guys, all of the information is in the video description. Links to donate, to go to a Just Giving page if you just want to find out more information. All of the info is in the video description, so get involved. As always, it's a really well-worthy cause. But before we get into the news, Mina, how are you this morning? Cold?
Cold. It's cold. It's cold. Honestly, if I knew the winter would be like this, I would not have enjoyed the global warming summer that we had. I would not have enjoyed it. But it is what it is. I'm good. I'm good. No World Cup football for the second day, so I can rest, I can relax.
Yes.
And recharge.
Before the madness starts up again and before we have more drama, that sure is definitely.
Can I just say, sorry,
I
said Morocco was going to win against Spain on the Morning View. Let me just say that, and I've been screaming their props a lot. A lot of people are
for a
screaming
long
it
time.
For a long time since the World Cup started. I said that they were the African team to watch out for. And some people I remember on the first Morning View I was on, they laughed. They laughed at me.
You all laughed at me. They're not laughing
now.
That's the case. They're not laughing now. No, to be fair, yeah, you've been saying Morocco for a while. Even before the tournament, I think it was. You were like, oh, no, I'm telling you, Morocco. And because the signs were there, their coach came in August. And they've scored, conceded one goal, and it's an own goal, something like that. Ziyech is back in the side. They've got Hakimi. I went crazy for the penalty when he scored a Panenka as well.
I saw that clip. I saw who was it? KG reposted it for Martial's penalty yesterday. Yeah. That's going to be the new clip that everybody uses every time someone scores a Panenka.
Panink, is it? Yeah, so you can get
The
back to
penalty
enjoying
was
that
good,
tomorrow.
but for me, the celebration was
Yeah.
was a
Gosh.
feisty one. Like people were laughing at, oh, look what he's doing, but he's basically throwing shade at the Spanish manager. That's what he's literally doing because that's
Is that
him
what it
and
was about?
it's him and Sergio Ramos' celebration at PSG. Obviously, Sergio Ramos never got
Oh,
taken to the World Cup,
yeah.
and so he done that celebration. He does it all the time when he scores at PSG.
Wow, that's always learning, always learning. I didn't even realize that. I was just going crazy. I was just screaming at the television in my home. But that's what the World Cup does to you. That's what football does to you. Let's talk about Joao Felix. Now, yesterday, it was funny, actually. Myself, Marcel, and KG, we were talking about Cody Gakpo, January, we need a striker, etc. And we were going to talk about just Gakpo. And then suddenly, KG came in and said, I want Joao Felix. Or I spoke to Paolo last night, Joao Felix. That's how you say it. Joao Felix. And he says, I don't care how much it costs. We should get him. Well, we've got an idea how much it might cost this morning. Mateo Moreto, excuse me, a journalist based in Spain, says Atletico Madrid are asking for between 130 million euros and 140 million euros for Joao Felix. George Mendes has spoken with United, Chelsea, Arsenal, and Bayern Munich. He has a broken relationship with Diego Simeone and wants to find a top club. 140 million euros. I did the maths. I went on Google this morning and said euros to pounds because I wanted to check that out. It's 120 million quid. So it's not even reducing it that much conversion. 140 million euros for Joao Felix, Mina. Any chance at all for January?
Honestly, I would be really, really, really shocked. Like very shocked. But are Atletico in financial trouble? Because those are some specific numbers. 130 to 140. There's no like leg room for any variance. It's literally either 130 or 140, whatever. Like 150 makes sense. 100 makes sense. Like whole figures make sense. But something like 130 to 140, that's a very specific amount of money that they want. Joao Felix, I remember watching him now for Portugal. He's balling out, but I can't see I can't even see us spending 70 on Gakpo in January. So how are you going to practically double that and think that we might pay that? And I can't see him coming to the Prem though. I could see a Chelsea buying him.
That is a good point. I hadn't really thought about that when it comes to Chelsea. I mean, some people are saying Arsenal as well because obviously the Gabriel Jesus situation. But even them, when was the last time?
I think they're more inclined. I think they'd be more inclined to go for someone like Gakpo than Felix.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're probably right there. The thing is with this, and like to your point, you go, well, I'd be really surprised. And I would be surprised as well. Going from, we weren't really planning on buying anyone in January, then Ronaldo's contract gets terminated and we spend 140 million euros on Joao Felix. I do look to the summer whereby that whole budget that we had, how many times did that get changed or moved in the summer? It's about 100 million quid, about 150 million quid. And we ended up spending about 200. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that United go, we've got nothing, we can't spend any money. And then suddenly we spent 140 million euro just because Joao Felix became available. That isn't out of the realm of possibility. But to your point, I would be flabbergasted. I would be beyond shocked. And also as well, transfers of that value, they just don't tend to happen in January. Like that kind of one, that's a. But
I think it's gonna happen regardless, just because of the desperation on both camps.
You think he'll definitely
in terms
go?
Of to get rid? Yeah, I think he's definitely gonna leave, because otherwise, if his own if the ownership came out and said, listen, like him and the manager have fell out, so he had he's going regardless, then I think he might go to Newcastle. That might be a bit of a wild take, but Newcastle's the only team I can imagine willing to spend that much money. Although I don't know, their manager and in terms of his plan and everything. But if I was to put an estimation on who would actually afford to buy him, it would definitely be Newcastle, because City don't need him. City don't need a Joao Felix. No. So that would be interesting. And but 140 for Joao Felix is a bit wild.
Yeah, even with City, even with the money they have, they don't, just thinking about it, they don't tend to do those like 120 million. They don't really do that. There's always like 60, 50, 70, something like that. It's never like, you never get close to the hundreds or anything like that, as far as I can recall. I might be wrong. You can let me know in the live chat. But I mean, Newcastle would be, because we haven't really seen that from this new Newcastle.
Like they just came out of nowhere and spent $70 million
Yeah.
on Alexander Isak, like out of
Yeah.
nowhere. So 140 is not. It's not like something that is impossible to happen.
Are they a top 4 club now to attract Joao Felix? I mean, they're in the top 4.
I mean, they're in the top 4, and they're definitely. I think that's the path that they're going on. I think they're going on the City path. Get a Middle Eastern investor. Obviously, I think they're performing a lot better than what City was when City were first purchased. But
City did spend 100 million on Grealish. I forgot about that.
Oh, I forgot. I forgot about Grealish.
I forgot about that. They have spent 100 million. But to be fair,
look how that turned out.
Yeah, I was going to say it doesn't play every week, so they have done it in the past. But even that, my point with that was because that was release clause settings. In an ideal world, they wouldn't have spent that on Jack Grealish. And when it's like, because I don't think this is release clause for Joao Felix, this is their asking price. So I would be shocked. I mean, to your point, look, if this whole thing of, oh yeah, he's really fallen out with the manager and he definitely wants to go, then maybe it could happen. And it's not the first time we've heard that. There have been rumblings about Joao Felix falling out with Diego Simeone for a while now, since the summer. And United allegedly put in that bid in the summer of 100 million euros, and they said no. And looking at this now, I went far off the price they were looking for. So obviously, it's the relationship that wasn't there in the summer has got even worse between now and then. So I don't know. I mean, that list there, it's United, Chelsea, Arsenal, and Bayern. I wouldn't see Bayern Munich doing it. Again, Arsenal, to your point, I wouldn't be shocked if they do sniff around Cody Gakpo, which we're going to talk about shortly. Chelsea is an interesting one because, again, Todd Boehly, they spent a lot of money in the summer, didn't work out. Graham Potter hasn't had a transfer window. This is going to be his first one. To your point, Chelsea could spend that, actually. I wouldn't be shocked.
I think they've been struggling to create chances and create goals. I wouldn't be surprised. I just feel like Todd Boehly has a point to prove. Like he feels like he has a point to prove, which would explain why he was flying around in the summer, just moving reckless in the transfer window, just trying to sign everyone and anyone. So if Joao Felix came to the Premier League, I think he'd go to Chelsea and Newcastle because that's the only two teams that I could see willing to pay that much.
And also we have to talk about, again, what United need. And realistically, United, in terms of the positions that they need in January, or the position that they need in January, it's not Joao Felix. You need a striker. If Joao Felix comes in, there is still the discussion point of who plays up front then? Or who's going to assist Anthony Martial in playing up front? Because he can't play every game. We are going to talk about Martial later on. But if you get Joao Felix in, where does he even play in that team?
He's not even a striker, if I'm not wrong. I don't think he's an out-and-out number 9, and I think
he plays like a 10,
that's the thing.
Something like that.
Yeah, he comes off the wing. That's the thing. I think if we're gonna sign a striker, we need to sign someone who wants to play as a striker, that can play as a striker. I think right now, like we've seen how it is with Marcus Rashford, and him saying, "Listen, I can't play up top, but I try. I don't like to play with my back to goal." We need to buy someone that is willing to and can play with their back to goal and be a number 9. Otherwise, we're just going to keep signing wingers or people that prefer to play on the wing. Suddenly, we got 5 people competing for the left-hand side and then 5 people competing for the right-hand side, and nobody wanting to play through the middle. And I think that's what it is. I don't think Joao Felix plays as a 9. I might be wrong. I could be wrong, but I don't recall him being good in that position. You've seen how he plays at Portugal, where his best opportunities and best playmaking comes from him coming off that right-hand side and being able to dribble through into the middle and dribble into passing lanes. So, yeah, even if it's always like hypotheticals, but even if we did buy him, I don't see how he would fit into the team. And he's a good player. That's not me saying he's not a good player. He's a good player, but I just don't know how his ability to play would fit into the current Manchester United team. But 140 million is just that's a crazy price tag.
It's a crazy price tag. I mean, and also as well, even if, I'm sure he probably can do a job up front, but is it even in the way that Ten Hag wants his strikers to play? If Joao Felix is going to play up front, you would assume it would probably be more. First of all, he'd probably be a false 9, so he'd be dropping quite deep. But in addition to that, He might be playing a bit off the shoulder a little bit, utilizing his pace. I don't know what his ability is like in terms of hold-up play and back to goal, which is what Ten Hag likes. I mean, we did see it even yesterday with Martial. The only other thing I can think of, Mina, is just this Portuguese influence on this squad. You know, there's Dalot, there's Bruno, Joao Felix, maybe Ramos after this World Cup as well in the summer, right? I mean, could we see Agent Bruno or Agent Diogo?
We could. I mean, I don't know how much they look up. And the thing is, I don't know how much Portugal squad looks up to Ronaldo. So I don't know if they would look at the Ronaldo situation and be discouraged from joining United. But listen, I would have Joao Felix at United anytime. But for that price, for a team that's having financial issues, nah, not on.
Yeah, I agree. VK with a super chat says, yes, United just pays for Felix to go on Piers Morgan's show and we get him on a free. Wow. If he's got an issue, you know, pick up the phone to Piers, you know, next thing you know, it's going to be Joao. Could you imagine if it was the same interview where Joao Felix just saying the same thing about Diego Simeone? Just, he doesn't respect me. He doesn't respect me. No chance. Dilvis also says that Ramos has a 105 million release clause, so that's not happening. Wow. You can dream. We can dream. To be honest, depending on how his World Cup goes and then the remainder of his season, someone might pay that in the summer. Like, legitimately. You never know.
I think anyone that's been following Benfica would have been aware of him. I mean, the guy just made his international debut like 3 weeks ago. Literally, like when he scored that hat-trick, he made his debut 17 days before that in like a friendly against, I think it was Nigeria. He did get a call-up. His first call-up, he got it in September when he was performing well at club, but he didn't play. So anyone that watches the Portuguese league would be familiar with him. But I think 105 million, depending on how the rest of his season pans out, I could see that release clause going up. I could see him signing a new contract and that release clause going up.
I was talking to Paolo yesterday before we watched the friendly, and we just chatting a little bit about Portugal. And we were saying that because you know, people are like, oh, Ronaldo might come back into the team now because he was just being punished for that game. But how? How can he? You're like, the person who replaced you scored a hat-trick. There is no way you can drop a player who scored a hat-trick in a World Cup last 16 game as you go into a quarter-final. There's just you can't, can you?
I hope Ronaldo. I hope he goes back into the starting lineup simply because I want Morocco to win. That's it. And that's no disrespect to him, but we've seen how different Portugal play when he's on the pitch, and then versus when Ramos was playing against Switzerland. We saw how different it is. Also, the fact that the goalkeeper was just poor. Some of it was good goals, but the goalkeeping was bad. But it's interesting because I feel like it's kind of sad as well for the Portugal team, because I remember when Ramos scored his first goal and everybody ran to the corner flag and everyone from the bench came running. The commentators were more focused about trying to find Ronaldo in that crowd.
Yeah.
The actual
it's
goal
what happened
scorer.
with Pepe's goal, isn't it? Pepe scored his header, and obviously Ronaldo and Pepe, long-time friends, so Ronaldo's there celebrating all that kind of stuff. But then as Ronaldo walked back up the line, the camera just went like that, and I thought, well, no, Pepe scored the goal. Pepe was the one that scored the goal at 39, but hey, that's what's the case for Ronaldo. Let's get a couple of chats from inside the live chat. Tad Bake says, Felix all day long. The kid's a talent. Ramos needs more time, in my opinion. What else have we got in here? Jim says, on top of that 140, I would add 130 or 40 and sign Mbappe instead. That's a flipping ridiculous price tag, basically saying, you know, it's silly. And RJ says, 140 million, never. I think that's the general sentiment, isn't it? I think sometimes when you hear these kind of numbers, if it was the summer, you would still say that's a lot of money, but they happen in the summer. But January plus that price tag, I think I'd be very, very surprised. And the Atleti might be like, okay, we'll be willing. The thing is also as well, Mina, is that how much did they sign him for? 100 million? So about 100 million they signed him for. So they're not going to want to sell him for anything less because he hasn't depreciated. He hasn't depreciated either as well. He's still a young player. So and when they signed him for 100 million, I guess their thought process was, we've got him now for like a decade or something. So it's going to be money well spent. They didn't think that. I mean, when did they even sign him? What, 3 years ago? Something like that?
It's not been that long.
Yeah, they didn't think they were going to be selling him this quickly. So they'd want to be making, like you said, at least breaking even or getting a bit more money because his valuation clearly has improved since then. So I suppose whilst a lot of money. Has there ever been a transfer though?
Has there ever been a transfer where a team have brought someone for more than like 50, 60, 70 million and have managed to sell him on for more than that? Because when you buy someone for a big price, you're you're doing that because, you know, you see a long-term future for them at the club. Whereas, you know, when you buy someone like, I don't know, for example, I'm just a hypothetical, but United spending 15 to 20 million on Tyrell Malacia, I don't know, spending however much we brought Lukaku for. I can't remember how much we brought Lukaku for, but buying Lukaku, I mean, we managed to sell him on. I don't recall if we made a profit on what we sold him for. I don't think so. I might be wrong. But in terms of clubs buying players for big prices, do they buy them with the intention of reselling them 2 years later for double that? Or do they buy them with the intention of 5, 6, 7 years of usage at the club is the plan? So I think with Atletico, I genuinely think that they brought Joao Felix with the intention of him being a long-term star at the club, and it just didn't work out. And in those positions, I can't lie, you should just take your L and just sell him for however much, because at the end of the day, they want to get rid of him as much as he wants to leave. It's not one of those situations. It kind of reminds me of the Di Maria thing at Manchester United, because the way that Di Maria thing, obviously that fizzled out within a year. That was very short term. But United were like, okay, we're gonna take a loss on what we bought him for, but it's better for him to leave and for the manager to get rid of him. And so they sold him for, like, I think it was like 50 million after we bought him for more than that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking now, and the Athletic, right? Shout out the Athletic. That they signed him in 2019 for a fee of 126 million euros. So realistically, they're looking for.
They just asked about 14 million.
14 million more. So again, but that kind of shows their position, and I can understand it. I can actually understand it when you see how much they signed him for. They're thinking, well, I mean, to your point, we could take the L, but even, you know, we've spent a lot. And Atleti historically, I mean, this was a huge amount of money at the time. So, and that was only, again, 3 years ago. And when they signed him, they thought this is going to be our guy for 10 years, and that's not happening. So I can understand that. But for a January move, I'd be just, again, very, very surprised. So there you go. Be sure to smash a like on the like button, folks. Let's get to 100 with 50 away. Be sure to subscribe as well, bottom right-hand corner. Remember, you can join the UV Members Club. Links in the video description. It's also the pinned comment in the live chat. You get your badges, your emojis such as Marcel's porridge, which we are going to get onto this morning, so don't you worry.
When am I going to get my emoji? I feel like that will make more people want to.
Exactly. So we've got to get the Queen Mean in there, or the Meanies, the Meanians. I was thinking this morning, there's like a million nicknames at this point.
Yeah, there's so many different names I keep hearing.
There's Queen Mean. I like the Meanies, but I also like the Meanians as well. And
I like the Meanians too. I like that. The meanies just sound like it just
it sounds
like
it's a horrible.
It sounds like it's a horror clan that just go around abusing people.
Exactly. Yeah, the minions I do like. We can get that into an emoji form. So maybe that's going to be coming soon as well. Let's talk about Cody Gakpo. Cody Gakpo has been talking ahead of the Netherlands quarterfinal against Argentina, which, by the way, I'm really looking forward to that game. I think that's going to be a really interesting game. But he's spoken about his future, considering everyone's speculating about Gakpo's future. And he said, when it came to a possible move to Manchester United, quotes, "I haven't heard from Manchester United yet. If they come, I will think about it. In these decisions too, I seek God's help. I ask him what I can do best." He also was then asked about missing out on a Manchester United transfer last summer, saying, quote, "I thought about Manchester United, but when that didn't happen, I couldn't remember and started to doubt. Leeds United did come. Should I go there? Now I wait." So basically saying that, you know,
come by me. That's close. What he's saying. Come back for me. He's saying, come back for me.
It was basically, I was going to go to United. It didn't happen. Leeds came in and I went, no way. Not a chance. And to be fair, looking back on it, if Leeds, I think Southampton nearly got that deal done as well.
Them, yeah.
If I ever had signed him, that'd have been a brilliant signing. A massive signing.
I remember they were asking for 25 million from them when they were asking for 50 from us.
But I hear that, Mina. I hear that him saying, "Look, I haven't heard from Manchester United yet. If they come, I'll think about it." That's that to me. I look at that as a positive by going, okay, he wants United. That's the move he wants. He wanted it in the summer. Clearly, he still wants it. Again, we know the connections between Erik ten Hag and him, having the same agent. I'm sure there have been informal talks. I think Fabrizio Romano has said on multiple occasions recently that there are talks between the agents, or United are in talks with his agents. So I look at that and think that's positive. But as we said about earlier, is the concern that we might not be the only team that's sniffing around him. Of course, again, Arsenal clearly are going to be looking for some striking options in January. And actually, they find themselves, I guess, in a similar situation to we do at this point, where they're light up front.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I think the comments that he made is a bit reassuring, because it definitely sounds like he was. I mean, from time he's saying that, they came in the summer and I thought about it, and then basically they left. So and he didn't know. Like, he was a bit disappointed. It definitely sounds like United is a direction that he wants to go. But yeah, I don't think we're going to be the only person in competition with him. And if he scores tomorrow, I swear 10-15 million is going on that price tag. Like, every time he scores in this World Cup, there's more money going on that price tag. And I do think the one thing that's keeping, like, all I keep hearing is, oh, this Gakpo to United. And a part of me wouldn't be surprised if it fell through because of how much it's been spoken about. I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up going elsewhere. But if United were to go buy him in the January window, I'm counting on the influence of Ten Hag that would bring him to United as well. Obviously, Manchester United is a big club. Everybody would want to, many people would want to play there in terms of the history and the credibility that playing at a team such as Manchester United carries. But I think a big part of it is also the influence of the managers. That Dutch influence. And I remember the first goal that they scored in the World Cup against Senegal. It was De Jong to Gakpo. It made me think, like, what was Ten Hag cooking up in the summer when he wanted both of them? Like, what was he cooking up? And also, like, I know I don't want to talk about De Jong, but when I watch him for the Netherlands, I think, United could really, really, really utilize, like, having him, because I remember seeing him, like, obviously the Netherlands play with a back three, but if United were to play with even a back four, having someone like De Jong would allow our fullbacks like Dalot or Luke Shaw to go a bit further, because De Jong always slots into that back line for the Netherlands when they're building up, which is what we're missing. Obviously, we got Casemiro, who is an amazing player, and he does the same thing for Brazil, and De Jong does the same thing for the Netherlands. So I'm just like, imagine we had both of them. Like, our fullbacks could just run around being free.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, again, like I keep saying, Ten Hag's fingerprints, they're all over this World Cup, because it just feels like any player that we were linked to in the summer, and I know we were linked to a lot, but any sort of proper links we had in the summer where clearly Ten Hag was interested in, they're all playing well. And, the best, I keep saying it, the best scout of this club is nobody in that scouting department. It's Erik Ten Hag, because clearly he knows. Frankie,
but it's just like, I feel like it's just the United thing where we want to buy a person in a transfer window, decide not to go for him. His price tag doubles. Yeah. And suddenly we're in a bidding war.
Yeah, it's true. Yesterday we were talking about that. Like, even, I mean, again, in the summer, it was like 25 million. At the beginning of this tournament, I think it was 40. Then he started scoring a couple. Then it was 50. Yesterday we did it, and because reports were saying 75. I mean,
it was 25 million. It was 25 million to everyone but United. But to United, they were saying 40-50 million in the summer. And then when United, and I think it's because of the conversation surrounding Anthony, and I guess they knew that United were willing to pay 80-90 million for Anthony, and we ended up paying 100. So I do remember United wanting Gakpo as a backup option if we didn't get Anthony, but they said 50 million was the price tag, and then it dropped to 25 when Southampton and Leeds were suddenly interested.
Yeah, 100%. Because I think United. Well, I think also because PSV, by all accounts, they needed to sell him. They had budgeted that they were going to sell him. And then, to your point, at one point there was discussions that we were going to get both. We were going to get Anthony and Gakpo, and then the Anthony price just spiraled until it got to the point where it was 100 million euros. And then United were legitimately, we don't have money. We kind of dipped into next year's budget to get Anthony in. And then, to your point, I think PSV went, we thought we were going to sell him. Now United are that's off the table because they bought Anthony. Leeds, Southampton, please come in, 25 million. And then Cody Gakpo went, no, I wanted to go to United. And they end up with a situation as it is right now. I guess the leverage is now back in PSV's favour because they've got a player who's playing well at the World Cup, so his valuation goes up. But also they have got a group of teams. It's not just United that are looking for attacking options in January. There is Arsenal. There is, who knows? There is Chelsea. There might be Bayern Munich. There might be whoever. So they've now got the leverage of he's worth more and more clubs are in for him. Therefore, we can charge a higher amount. And I guess it's almost going to have to go back to almost a bit like Anthony, I guess, in the summer, whereby it's going to have to really, I think, be Cody Gakpo to go to PSV and be like, no, I'm going to United this time. It slipped through our fingers in the summer. I'm who they want. Make this deal happen. But this is why I was saying, even after that first game against Senegal for the Netherlands, just sort it now. I understand the player might be like, I'm only focusing on the World Cup, but get everything sorted that you just need the player signature. Because the longer this goes on and the better he does and the Netherlands do, that will become a problem for United, because I worry about other teams getting involved or other teams getting interested, not because they can outbid us, because I don't think they necessarily can, but my worry is just there might be some more attractive options right now. And we've got to just make sure that we get this deal done, because if we miss out on this one and we're in a situation where we're scrambling for a striker, or heaven forbid we don't get one in January, I mean, that top 4 race, then we're in trouble.
If we don't listen, if we don't sign Gakpo, yeah, I can't lie. I can see us signing someone like Vincent Abubakar for a 6-month loan. To come in and fill the gaps.
Make space for Ronaldo as well.
To come in and fill the gaps up front, or promoting. Which I wouldn't be too mad at that if we didn't sign a striker and he came in the January window. Yeah, I wouldn't be too mad on that.
Promoting. Oh, that was KG. You said,
honestly, yeah. We laughed at him, but
ask for cheaper, get promoting.
Yeah.
Oh man, KG's something else. He really is. But look, again, Cody Gakpo, I'm still confident this one's going to happen. I am. But again, as time goes on, and it's typical United, isn't it? We could have got him in the summer. We didn't. Now we're going to try and get him in January, but it's going to cost a lot more. And it still doesn't change our pursuit for a striker next summer, because Cody Gakpo, again, isn't a striker still. He can play across the front three, and he will help us a lot this season. But I really do think this one's based upon what the player wants. If the player wants to move, if the player wants to go to United, then I think it can be done. But I don't think we're going to be the only club in for him as well. So we'll have to wait and see when it comes to that. Be sure to smash a like on the like button, guys. Be sure to subscribe as well, bottom right-hand corner. We do have to talk about Manchester United actually losing yesterday. We lost against Cadiz. We lost 4-2 in a friendly. And, Mina, at some points, it was a bit of a difficult watch, I must say. First half featured a lot of players that were backups. The majority of them were backups. But when it came to the second half was actually all youth players. It's basically an academy game. So that was quite interesting to see. But certainly it was an interesting one. Just to do that starting 11 once again, it was Dubravka in goal. Talk about him in a second. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, talk about him as well. Victor Lindelof, Mengi, Williams, McTominay, Van der Beek, Zidane Iqbal, Anthony Elanga, Anthony Martial, and Alejandro Garnacho. So some first team players certainly in there. What did you make of the result? What did you make of the performances, I guess, from both sides? Because there were two completely different sides playing there for United.
Yeah, definitely. But I feel like we can't be too, we can't be too soft on our second string players or backup players, because our backup players should have the quality to win games such as this. But I will say, because it's a friendly and it's a mid-season break and whatnot, there were some bright sparks. There were definitely some bright sparks. I think Garnacho, you can see he's still young and still developing, because he was taking on his man and running at players quite often when that might not have been the best choice. But his ability to do that stuff is there, and it's evident. I was really impressed with Zidane Iqbal and Kobbie Mainoo. Those two I was really impressed with, and I think Iqbal was playing as that option for the back four to kind of progress the ball forward, and he was doing well at that. It's really sad that this is really the first time I've got to see him all season, because I would have thought that he would definitely have been involved a lot more. But obviously our academy players, I think that, they're still young. They're still developing. But Mainoo is just that kid is so talented, and I can see him breaking into the first team. I can see him breaking into the first team in due time. Obviously, he's still quite young, so he still has a lot to learn. But I do think he has that ability. It'll be interesting to see how it actually pans out with him and his time at United, whether he'll go out on loan or something. Same with Iqbal. I've seen Iqbal being linked actually to a loan move to, I think it's Middlesbrough. Where Carrick is. Yeah. He's been linked to a loan move there in January to get more playing time. So I wouldn't dwell too much on the score. What I would say is, goalkeeper was horrible.
Yeah, we'll talk about the goalkeeper and the defense. Dubravka and Aaron Wan-Bissaka were awful. But
you know what? It's like,
really
can
awful.
we be harsh? Can we be so harsh on Wan-Bissaka that has not sniffed the pitch in a long time? But I feel bad for him, but at the same time, I don't feel bad for him. Like I don't feel bad, and I do. And when you know, like, come on, like realistically, when you know, okay, he's a professional. He's a professional athlete. He should be professional at all times. But when you know that the manager does not want you and has no interest in playing you, and you play in a friendly game during the mid-season break, I would just mess about. If that was me, I'll just go on the pitch and mess around the whole time. I wouldn't do what I'm told to do because I know that the manager doesn't like me. He wants to get rid of me, and he's been trying to get rid of me, but I'm so bad that nobody wants me.
Mina Ronaldo, that's what it is. Mina Ronaldo over there. I understand he hasn't played in a while, but and the thing is as well, like it reminded me of points last season. I understand you can say match rhythm, but I saw that a lot last season when he was playing, like a lot of the games. He got skinned a couple of times, like sliding tackles all over the place. We used to rave about that. Oh, the spider sliding tackles because he's out of position. Because he's out of position or he's getting beat. Or he can't handle the attacker. Like in the first couple of minutes, he was jogging back. It was really poor defensively. For me, it was Erik ten Hag confirming what he already knew about some of the players, is that they're not good enough or they can't play in the system that I want to play. I forgot how high that Manchester United line is. And if you don't have a defense that can do it, you're in massive trouble. Because we were 2-0 down after 13 minutes, and there were two one was a set piece, which was horribly defended. But the other one was a counter-attack goal. And as Ten Hag said in his quote after the game, he said we weren't awake. We were asleep in the first 15 minutes. They were threatened transition. Second goal, we were not awake. A bad rest defense, especially in the midfield. We got ran off. It's not possible, and it's unacceptable. He also says the first goal as well, a set play, bad organisation and discipline. You can see the goal. After that, we came into the game, but we couldn't make the equaliser before half-time. Speaking about the young players in the second half, he said they gave energy, they run and fight, maybe not always in the right organization. They make mistakes. It was a good lesson. They see that the small mistakes have big consequences. But he also concluded saying, we are unhappy with this game. Of course, you always see some positives when you lose, but today there are more negatives. And he's right. He is right. I think, again, he might have looked at some of those players and thought, I was on the fence when it came to them anyway, and I've just sort of confirmed what I thought about them, to be honest. And again, it's a couple of those players like Wan-Bissaka, like Brandon Williams. I thought they were all right, but just some of them that's not good enough for United. And I know it's a friendly, and you can't be too outraged and all that kind of stuff. But some of those players aren't going to be playing, for the remainder of this season. Carabao Cup on the 21st, quite a few of them will be involved actually, and that's worrying. Because we might go out of the cup. Now, I do want to talk about Dubravka. Now, before we get into Dubravka, who conceded 4 yesterday, Marcel, and I hope you're watching this. You probably are, Marcel. Big fan of Dubravka. Not a fan of De Gea. And I think that's really where it stems from. Previously, I'd said in the past, Dubravka should start. Dubravka should play more games. He's seen him have positive warm-ups, Mina. He looked good in the warm-ups. And then when he played against Aston Villa in the Carabao Cup, you did the game with me that day. Shaky. But Marcel was like, no, Owen. It's just one game. He needs to have a run of games in the team. Well, he played yesterday, and quite a few people were critical of him. Now, after the game, I asked him about Dubravka, his performance, and I asked him, come December 27th, when we're playing Forest, I said, who should start? Or who would you start, rather? Here's what Marcel had to say. And KG, the comedian, says he can kick, though. Eyes and laughter emoji. He's also had some other chats in there saying, let's talk about the goalkeeper. So, look, we bow to what the chat wants. Marcel. Yes. Goalkeeper.
First goal, we're looking at the goals here. I think the first goal is a really good header, so I wouldn't want to give him all the blame.
Do you not think he should travel? He comes out a little bit and gets out of position.
Yes.
And those little bits, those little details, let's be fair here, had David De Gea done that, you would be critical, would you not?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, would have been a bit critical about that in terms of positioning. I think, but David De Gea, you're expecting world-class positioning from. He's a better goalkeeper than Dubravka in terms of shot stopping. Yeah, 100%.
I was waiting with that when I was going, Paolo.
Getting a bit nervous.
Yeah. No. In terms of shot stopping, he is a better keeper, let's be honest. But, I just feel like I would rather take anyone that can offer me something else than what that De Gea is doing in terms of with the feet.
Anyone?
Yeah, anyone.
You take anyone?
Anyone.
If it came, and this is the key question, I think, Paolo. Okay. Premier League is back on December 27th.
Yes.
If you were in charge, who would you put in goal? Dubravka, De Gea, or I guess Tom Heaton as well.
Wow. Well,
Who would you pick?
I think it has to be. I think it has to be at the moment.
Who would you pick?
Oh, definitely Dubravka. Definitely Dubravka. He needs. Right now, it's gonna be De Gea. Right now, it's gonna be De Gea, and I accept that.
But who would you pick?
Dubravka. 100%. 100%. I'll pick Dubravka. Sorry, I'm very sorry. After this performance, yes, it's been poor, but let's see the next game. When it's Saturday, we're playing again Saturday. Let's see what happens.
De Gea will play Saturday, probably, won't he?
Oh, if he plays, so I think Ten Hag's going to pick De Gea, and I'm going to support him if it's him. But my opinion would be to play Dubravka.
There's a lot of red cards.
Is it?
Yeah, there's a lot of red cards.
Oh, Marcel, man. Marcel. Oh.
I mean, care to comment on that, Mina, what you're hearing?
Nah, I'm not surprised that he said that. Because for the longest time, I genuinely thought Marcel was just trolling about his Dubravka takes until that day that I asked him who would he prefer as a backup keeper, De Gea or Henderson, and he said to me he said to me Henderson. That's when I knew that his hatred for De Gea was so real that he will back anyone that's. And right now, I could say Owen in goal or De Gea. Who would you prefer? And I know he'd say Owen. I know he would say Owen.
And he might be right on that one. No, he's not. He's definitely not right on that one.
It could be an argument. But that's... I don't know how you can watch a keeper concede 4 goals in a friendly and then still say that.
He wasn't great. He wasn't good yesterday. He wasn't. And even Marcel was saying he's not good, but he still was like, no, I'd play him. He needs more game time. Look, it's all in jest. But at the same time, I thought, again, yesterday was a good reminder of you don't know what you've got until you don't have it. And yesterday was a reminder of look what it's like when you don't have Varane and Martinez in defence. Look what it's like when you don't have Bruno Fernandes. We don't have those players that sometimes we criticise for their performance levels. Again, they can do what Erik ten Hag wants his team to be able to do. And, I think, again, yesterday was a good eye-opener of just some of those players who might be backup options, are backup options for a reason, and they might just not have a future. They might just not have a future at the club.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think a lot of those players, like, I remember KG's skit. Sorry, I remember you and KG's R&B skit because there was a part when he was like, "Is there any room for Donny in this team?" I don't think there is.
No, look, I didn't want to bring up the Donny van der Gender this morning, but since you brought it up, first half he played yesterday. What did he do?
I genuinely forgot he was playing. Like, when I was thinking back of all the people that were playing just now, I was like, oh, was Donny playing? Because he ain't on duty. He ain't on international duty. And then I was like, oh, yeah, he was playing. He was bad. I don't think there's space for a lot of people, not just him, but quite a few people in that team. I don't think that there's space for them in terms of their Manchester United future. And I think, obviously, a lot of us we've got a lot of players on international duty right now, but I think this training camp is probably more so to just keep fit, but also to show, senior members that, listen, these people can't play for this club. Because yesterday's performance, Elanga, he's quite young still, but I don't think he's good enough for Manchester United. Donny van de Beek, I don't think he's good enough for Manchester United. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Dubravka, I don't think any of them are good enough for Manchester United. I'm not going to be harsh on Mengi because I think he's just come back from an injury like a month ago, and so he's still rehabilitating. But from time that the only people I really have to praise in that game is the youngsters, is the academy kids, then you know that a lot of those senior players are just not fit to play. They're not fit to play for this club.
Yeah, I mean, look, like Donny van de Beek, I've said my piece on him a million times, but I saw Zidane Iqbal in that first half do what I want to see Donny do in games, where I saw Zidane Iqbal actively going, give me the ball, trying to do stuff with it, trying to link up with people, not just making runs, but receiving the ball, wanting the ball, doing something with it. I mean, Zidane Iqbal basically wins that penalty himself. Wants the ball, gets it, travels with it, plays a 1-2 with Martial, gets into the box, gets pulled down, penalty. Just do something like that. And that's my point. Even if you're not playing particularly well, or the team's not playing particularly well, take it upon yourself to get the ball and do something with it. That's what Bruno does. Even if Bruno's not playing well and he's giving the ball away, or people aren't giving him the ball, he goes, right, I'm just going to run around and make sure someone gives me the ball so I can positively affect the game. And yes, there was even a friendly. And Donny was one of the more senior players. And again, we're talking about 45 minutes where you go, how many touches did he have? Not many. You know, he didn't do much. Zanik Bell did more than him. Cody Gakpo came on in the second half, did more than him. You know, wanted the ball, got on the ball, got his goal, deflection. But that's what I'm really looking at. And I don't know. I don't know anymore with Donny. I don't know what more needs to be said about it, to be honest. Again, hopefully he will play at the weekend and maybe he affects the game more there. But, you know, I'm looking more forward now to seeing Zidane Iqbal or Cody Gakpo again at the weekend because I thought that they
should have been.
Personality.
I think all these opportunities that Van der Beek has been getting, I genuinely think it was because Ten Hag might not have his mind made up on terms of, you know, his quality and capabilities. But I think if Iqbal had the opportunities that Van der Beek has had, you know, playing in the last 3-4 games of prior to the break, I think he would have been a lot more influential. And it's very sad that, yes, it's a friendly. Yes, it means nothing. But the senior players should always stand out. They should stand out in a fixture like that because, yes, it's a friendly and you're playing with the B team, you're playing with academy youngsters. You should stand out as a senior player. But the fact that 2 young players made more of an impact than you did is it's actually quite sad. It's actually quite sad. I don't know what United were thinking when we brought him, but then again, he wasn't in that Ajax team that got to the semis. He was the last one to get sold. He was one of the last ones to get sold because all the good ones got taken a lot more quicker.
No, and he played as a 10 also in that Ajax side. And even if you look back, he just feels like a different player. I don't know if it's, you know, I don't know if it's the pressure. I'm not sure what it is, but I'm not seeing anything. I mean, like he just goes through games. I mean, one person that doesn't go through games, but Anthony Martial played yesterday, scored yesterday, because this season, when the rare occasion that he does play, he does score or get an assist, gets a penalty, scores his penalty. I guess the positive, Mina, is that he got through that game without an injury. And at the moment, we're just building up his fitness. And depending on what happens with the striker situation, if he can stay fit, is going to be a really important player for us for the remainder of the season.
Yeah, because we need a out and out 9. You've seen how influential Martial can be on the team, and with the run of games that we have, especially with, it looks like, I don't want to jinx it, but it looks like England could be progressing quite far in the World Cup. I'm not going to jinx it. I'm just saying, and anyone can progress far at this point. So if Rashford is back late, up front is all Martial's. It's all for his take and it's all for his influence. And I think the only thing that you have to hope every time is that it's just staying fit. Like even when like a game like yesterday where he didn't get injured, I'm just worried. Okay, what's his rehabilitation like after the game? What if he picks up a knock in training? What if his muscles give way after a few days and he picks up an injury, which would be sad. But I'm hoping that this break was enough for him to build up his fitness and be able to hit the ground running come the 21st, 22nd December, whenever it is that we play the cup game.
Yeah. And also as well, I think you would hope, and to be fair, Ten Hag has done this with the likes of Varane now, where once someone's got injured a couple of times or has got a history of getting injured, he just puts them on something completely different or separate to everyone else. They've got their own program that they'll be on. So one would hope that Martial now has his own individual program that he's constantly on. I don't know how often he's training with like the team. He might be doing individual programs a couple of times. You're a bit like Ledley King settings. You know, when it used to be like, oh yeah, he only trains with us once or twice a week. The rest of the time he's doing gym work. I don't know how bad that situation is with Martial, but one would think all of this preseason, mid-season stuff is all part of his program to get back to his actual level. So, I would hope that is the case with that. I do want to talk a little bit about England, and Luke Shaw has spoken and defended Harry Maguire ahead of England's game against France in the quarterfinals of the World Cup. Luke Shaw said in an interview with TalkSport, every player gets some stick for not performing well, but what he has got wasn't right. It wasn't far from a disgrace. Disgrace, to be honest. The mentality he's shown to put that aside and come in and play how he has is really good for him. Hopefully he can keep it up. Hopefully he can keep performing at this high level and have a good end to the tournament. Do you think some of the criticism that Maguire got was a disgrace? Do you think that's too much, too far?
I wouldn't say it was a disgrace. I do think some of the criticism was warranted. I genuinely think that. I feel like they probably got a friendship, which is why he's defending him. And also, I think it's important to. Is he talking about at club level? Because at club level, I think his criticism is warranted. At international level, I just think that people's hatred for him at club level just kind of tints their glasses for criticizing him in terms of international duty. But I don't know why he's come out to speak about Maguire specifically. Like,
maybe he got asked.
He wasn't
about
the
it.
only. Maybe he got asked about it, but he was definitely not the only person that was being criticized. I would even go so far and say, okay, you know, if someone deserves defending is actually Lisandro Martinez, because he came into the Premier League and was just criticized non-stop for his height, and then has shown his importance and value not only in Manchester United defense but in the Argentina defense. So why didn't he come out and say, oh yeah, pundits? It's easy for people to criticize what the fans have. Like, for footballers, I think it's easy for them to criticize what the fans have to say, but it's difficult for them to clap back at the pundits and what the pundits have to say. Because really and truly, what a lot of pundits say is much worse than I think what clubs say. Club fans just say. Fans just say, listen, don't like him. He ain't good enough. He's horrible. Yeah, Maguire can't play in this team. He's slow. He's a fridge. He can't defend. Blah blah blah. Whatever. Cool. But then what the pundits say about players, I actually think sometimes is a bit worse. So why don't players talk about that as well?
I think the thing is with Maguire, and I can understand what Luke Shaw is saying here, because I've sort of said this kind of myself in the past, that I feel like when it gets personal with Harry Maguire is when you lose me, because I think then we're not talking about football anymore. You know, when people, sometimes when you can criticize Harry Maguire for saying he's not good enough for playing for Manchester United. He definitely should be Manchester United captain. He can't play in the system that Erik ten Hag wants to play because he's slow, and he can't play in a high line, and his ball control sometimes is suspect as well. You can say all of that, and that's perfectly fine. But when people start going like, do you think, oh, he's a fridge and you're a so-and-so and blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, we're not talking about football then. And that's when, and it has sometimes got to the point with Harry Maguire that even when you bring him up, or sometimes when he comes on, remember when he came on against, was it Arsenal or Liverpool? He came on against Liverpool, and the whole stadium went, you know, all that kind of stuff. And you sort of go, he's a football player. You know what I mean? He is a football player. Like, so the way some of the criticism is about him is you think like he's, I don't know, he's like Charlie in the Chocolate Factory. He got a golden ticket and then he played for Manchester United and he never kicked the ball in his life. And that's not the case. He is a football player. I just think maybe that's what Luke Shaw is talking about. Sometimes it veers away from football. And then I think you're just saying stuff to be mean-spirited for the sake of saying things. I also agree with the stuff that kind of spills over from club level to international level, like when he was being booed at Wembley.
I never understood that.
Yeah, I don't understand that. Exactly. He always plays well for England. But that doesn't change my mindset of I don't think he should be at United. He definitely shouldn't be the captain. He's not good enough to play for United. And every time he's played for United, even this season, he's been poor. Yeah, he has been poor. We've lost more games when he's played than when he hasn't played. So, but I think you can separate those two issues. And like I said, I think sometimes for whatever reason, maybe it's just today's age, social media, you know, sometimes people can't be constructive with their criticism. They have to be mean with their criticism, and they have to take it away and get personal for whatever reason. He doesn't help himself as well, Maguire. When you score in a friendly at Wembley against who was Albania, and you put your fingers in your ears, and then you say, "Oh, what was that reference to?" He goes, "I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about." No reference. It's like, oh, you're not helping yourself there. So I get what he's saying. I think so far in this World Cup, I think he's done okay. I thought for the first 30 minutes against Senegal, he was really suspect and give the ball away 2 or 3 times. He does this a lot too, where he's ahead of the player. Like the ball will be played in behind. He's ahead of the player. He's winning that race. And for whatever reason, he'll just decide, I'm just going to wrestle with him. I'm just going to grab him. And you go, what are you doing that for? That's unnecessary. And it's stuff like that. That's when you can criticize him. But other parts, I don't know. But like I said, Maguire, he's always going to be a loaded issue for United fans. And again, I don't think anything's changed when it comes to his future. I think it's best elsewhere apart from United. And it just goes to show, I was saying this yesterday, how big Manchester United are, because playing for your country, representing 55, 56 million people is less pressure than playing for Manchester United, who has like 1 billion fans around the world. And that goes to show the pressure. Some people can handle it, some people can't. The scrutiny that's on him, it's too much. Clearly, he can't handle it. Big up Steffi Jenks, has been a member for 5 months. Appreciate 5 months of support in the UB Members Club. Big up the mods as well. Says, thank you everyone for your support. So glad you're here. Please hit the like button, share the stream, and join the amazing UB Members Club. Yes, hit the like button. We're not even at 100 likes yet. We've got over 400 people watching. We can get to 150 easily. Of course we can. Of course we can. We can get to 150. But as far as Maguire, just before we wrap up the show, are you concerned when it comes to France? And you've got Dembele, you've got Mbappe, and to be honest, even Olivier Giroud. You know, sometimes with Maguire, if he gets involved in the physical aspect of it as well, that can be a bit nasty. So, what are your thoughts about Maguire against France?
I think the physical thing might work. It could work in his favor. It'll be interesting to see him and Giroud battling it in the box. But I'm not that worried. Obviously, I think defensively, in terms of their attacking options, not just those three, but like I said, Griezmann and even maybe Rabiot and Tchouaméni, their ability to get forward. I think there's a penalty in that game. I do think there's a penalty in that game, and I don't think it's to England. But I'm not saying that I think it's Maguire that's going to give away a penalty. I don't know who's going to give away a penalty, but I do feel like it could happen. I think there's a stat that England actually have not got a player booked all World Cup. They've avoided.
Yeah, I saw that. It's crazy.
Bookings. So it's going to be an interesting game. It's one of them ones where I can't predict it because you don't know like what Maguire you're going to get. You don't know what who's going to play at fullback. But like I said, John Stones quality centre back, and I think him and that Maguire pairing it could work.
Yeah, I do think it's closer than people think.
I don't think
France are the favourites, but it's closer. It's closer than people think.
France, I think, are the favourites just because simply of how great they are, the attacking options, defending champions. But if this was England about 12 years ago, I would have said, okay, cool. I don't see a way out for England. But this England team and this England squad under Southgate, like in the last 2 World Cups, they've scored more goals combined than in the last, I think, 6 World Cups before that. So they have the ability to score, they have the ability to defend, and I think it's going to be a great game. That's all I'm going to say. I think for football fans, anyone who's a neutral or anyone that doesn't really care who goes through out of the two, I think it's going to be a great game to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously you look at their attacking lineup and you get worried because obviously Mbappe, Dembele, Griezmann when he comes up, Giroud. I wouldn't be shocked if Southgate goes to a back 5. Frankly, I know people kind of roll their eyes when you talk about Southgate and back 5, but I think he should because I think it's the best way to win the game. I know people are talking about, can Kyle Walker handle Mbappe? Kyle Walker's fast, but it's not even just necessarily that. One-on-one, Mbappe will win that duel several times in the game. Even if Kyle Walker has a good game against him, Mbappe will have moments that he gets past him, and it only takes one. I think that if you play a back 5, you then have the ability to double up on him. So your right centre back, whoever that may be. I mean, it might even be the case where it's Kyle Walker as the right centre back and then Trippier as the right wing back or something like that. And then you've got 2 people that have got a bit of pace or, 2 people that can maybe double up on him. That might be the way to go. So look, it's going to be an interesting one. Again, I think it's closer than people think. I still just in my heart of hearts think France probably win because I've got no frame of reference. In my lifetime, England in a World Cup have never beat a big nation, particularly the world champions. I've never seen it. So I can't say that I'm confident. But if we beat them, I'll believe. But at the same time, this is the hardest run that Southgate has had in a tournament in the knockout phase, right? Obviously, Senegal, good side, beat them. But then you've got France. You would then assume, Portugal, if you got to the semi-final. Okay. Portugal, and then possibly Brazil or something in the final. That would be a heck of a way to win a World Cup. And the frustrating thing is we've had easier runs to finals or semi-finals, and we haven't been able to get the jobs done. So hopefully England can do it, but I just don't know. I'm not sure if I believe Mina. I don't know.
Like I said, for anyone that's a neutral, I consider myself a neutral just because I don't have anyone that I want to win the World Cup. Like, I just want to see a good tournament. So anyone that's watching as a neutral, it'll be a very exciting game to watch. And I do think it's, like I said, closer than what a lot of people think. But I think what is going to mess I think one thing that might get into players' heads is, all I've seen is the press talking about Kyle Walker stopping Mbappe. I wonder how Kyle Walker feels now, or knowing all that pressure is on him to stop the main man in the France team. Anything goes wrong, Kyle Walker is going to get butchered by the press. If Mbappe scores, if he scores a hat-trick, because he's in form right now for France, and he scored 2 very good goals in the last round. He scored 2 great goals, actually. So if anything goes wrong and Mbappe scores, gets on the score sheet multiple times, the person that was being hyped up by the press, he didn't ask to be hyped up, but the person being hyped up by the press is going to be the person that gets criticized for it. And I feel bad, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than what people think. I think it could be like a 2-1 either way. I think both teams will definitely score, but I don't know who's going to win. I can't tell you.
No, me neither. But we will be live for it Saturday, live from UVHQ. We're going to be live 3 times, 3 different matches on Saturday. We're going to have, obviously, the quarterfinal between Portugal and Morocco. Then we're going to be live from UVHQ for the friendly, Manchester United versus Real Betis. Then straight after, we're going to be live once again for England versus France. So a busy day. So be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. Click the notification bell. You'll be notified every time we go live or a new video is uploaded. Wicked show. We're at the end of the show today. Be sure to smash a like on the like button, guys. Be sure to subscribe. As always, plenty of UV content coming up. Flex is going to be dropping a video later today discussing all things Manchester United players at the World Cup, so stay tuned to that. And we'll be back tomorrow morning with another edition of the Morning View. We're out of here, and we'll speak to you again soon. Peace.